Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fanfellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your book talk jester and lover of all things fantasy.
And we are here today to dive so deep into chapters 6 through 10 of Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn. A quick reminder, I am serving as your professor of all things Sanderson to not only the audience, but also to Steven, because he has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, Professor. So this podcast will only have spoilers for the chapters we read each episode, which means if you're starting Mistborn but have yet to finish it, this is the podcast for you. One last thing before we get started. This is a new podcast, as you've probably noticed. So if you want to help get the word out, please give us a follow on Instagram and TikTok at Fantasy Fanfellas. There's going to be a lot of content you won't want to miss.
Okay, Steven, it's your time. Please burn your medals and let us know, from your perspective, what happened in chapters 6 through 10 of Mistborn.
All right, hey, let's start with chapter 6. Our girl Vin Damsel wakes up in a bougie room, at least to her, and feels more out of place than an Amish boy in a Best Buy. Then she meets some young boy who apparently is smitten and stumbles over his words, like Travis Kelce probably stumbles across the field having to carry that red wood of his. Then everyone holds a meeting about the job they have to do. It's led by Kelsier, obviously. They cover some struggles they may have. Then someone suggests that they turn the great houses on each other. Like this is the birth of the House Cup competition. 10 points to Slytherin, I guess. Basically, the whole chapter is about this meeting, and it's somewhat boring, but necessary. Like an oil change. Remember to get those, by the way, folks. But then the chapter ends with Kelsier's older brother showing up. What? Chapter 7. Kelsier chats with his brother, who's hesitant about helping Kelsier, but willing to hear him out. Like when a friend asks you to help them move. Find someone else. Anyway, Vin Damsel listens in the whole conversation through the door, like the Weasley twins with their magic dangly ear. But Kelsier turns on the Find My Eye medal and knows she's eavesdropping. So he goes to her room later and says, hey, it's time for your wax on, wax off moment, girly pop. He gives her a new set of threads and tells her to treat every day like you're going through airport security. Don't have any metal on you. And now it's time to burn some metal, baby. He teaches her how to use different types of metals, what they do, how they work, and then he teaches her about the push-pull magic split. No leg day required. Chapter 8. Vin Damsel learns to jump high. Kind of. Kelsier's training tactics are similar to a dad who throws his son into a pool and says, hey, learn to swim. Ha! Memories. Anyway, later they meet this thing called a Mistwraith, which is basically like a cocktail of a being. It's rather eerie looking, but mostly harmless, kind of like your distant relative's dog, even though they assure you every time, oh, she won't bite. Are you sure, Betsy? And then they hitch a ride with some guy named Say So, or whatever. And they're like, oh, if you say so. And they go to this mansion of Renew. How do you pronounce that, by the way?
I say Renow.
Renow?
But I could be totally wrong.
Well, we're going to go with Renow. Or
Okay.
at least the Temu version of Renow. It's a bit of a culture shock for Vin because everybody's happy, including the servants. So basically the opposite of life. Then they talk about Vin Damsel's role in everything, and they realize she's going to need a makeover. All right, cue the makeup montage of every early 2000s teen flick, Chapter 9. Which also begins part 2 of this book. We cut to a few months later where Vin Damsel is well on her way to becoming a tailor's version of herself. She's training and getting better at Allomancy. Later, Say So tries to convert her to a religion while she's getting a haircut, like some barber shop in a small southern town where the preacher recently gave a sermon about spreading the message. Now she's much more ladylike and ball ready. Hashtag Mia Thermopolis. Also, Kelsier tells Say So to give Vin Damsel the old Samwise Gamgee treatment and protect her with his life. Chapter 10. Vin Damsel gets a training session with my favorite side character, Breeze, and it's not easy breezy. Okay, not my best work. Anyway, he teaches her about magical emotions, which kind of sounds like mansplaining, but we will allow it for now, I guess. Then a guy named Pork Meat, aka Ham, comes in with a philosophical question akin to the chicken or the egg problem. Kelsier is trying to sway some ska to the cause in a meeting like that relative that won't leave you alone about the newest MLM. There's also talk about the Lord Ruler. He's a god, but he's not a god. He's like a piece of a god. I don't know. Honestly, it's giving assistant to the regional manager. Then there's another meeting among our band of thieving heroes. Yay. If I wanted to hear about meetings, I could just finally read my work emails. And the chapter ends with Cayman's lair discovered by magic. Feds.
Steven, the absolute leap that you took with your summary from episode 1 to episode 2 is unbelievable.
Was it a leap?
Oh, it was amazing. And I have to say, you stole my Princess Diary reference.
Did I?
And so I just wanted everybody to know that we both thought of that separately. I wasn't copying you.
Oh, are you going to say it later?
Yeah, I say it multiple times. So,
okay. Well, then you know what? Just pretend like I didn't say it.
Spoilers.
Spoilers for the episode.
And now it is time for us to don our mist cloaks and dive so deep into what happened in this stretch of chapters. But first, my one big word for today is learning. In this stretch of chapters, Vin learns a lot, from how to actually use Allomancy in a tactical way to more page time with some of the members of the crew. And what is so wonderful about the beginning of a fantasy series is that we get to learn along with the characters. There is a lot to take in these chapters. But hey, that's what we're here for. Now, Steven, can you please read off the epigraph for chapter 6?
With pleasure. Hey, here we go. I never wanted this, true, but somebody has to stop the deepness, and apparently Terrace is the only place this can be done. On this fact, however, I don't have to take the word of the philosophers. I can feel our goal now, can sense it, though the others cannot. It pulses in my mind, far off in the mountains. I like how that said deepness, and you just said we're going deep. We're already deep in the epigraph, my friend.
We are going so deep into the deepness of this book, and we are now back with our girl, Vin. She wakes up in a normal room inside of Clubs' shop, which she had been taken to last night after the meeting. But to her, it's rather uncomfortable. And not because the bed is lumpy, but rather because the room is too empty. She's used to sleeping in crowded alleyways or lairs, and privacy has never been something that Vin was afforded. And after some snooping around to check out the place, she's caught by Dachshund, who tells her to go take a bath before a crew meeting scheduled for the afternoon. Vin is in a bit of a crisis of identity here. She comes out of her bath smelling like perfume, which she hates, because having a pleasant smell would make her stand out among the other ska. In this moment, she can feel the reality of her life shifting. She's a ska, but she's now incredibly powerful, and she also happens to smell like a noblewoman. After an entrance and chit-chat from Ham, Vin leaves for her room. But before she goes, she stops at the kitchen to take some food. And she's hesitant to reach for her food at first because, while she's seen Dachshund and other crew members grab food, she isn't sure if she's even allowed to. But the workers in the kitchen seem unbothered when she does, even nodding at her respectfully. The next beat is a wonderful little internal moment, showing that Vin is starting to understand her place in the crew while still holding firm to her survival tactics. Quote, "I'm an important person now," she thought with a measure of discomfort. Did they know that she was Mistborn? Or was she simply treated with respect because she was a guest? I mean, Steven, I love this part of the book because you're starting to see Ven come into her own a little bit. And we already want to root for her, but every step of the way, we're like, come on, you could do it. You could do it.
Yeah. She reminds me, I don't think you've read this book. She reminds me of a character named Delilah Bard that comes out of the Shades of Magic trilogy by V.E. Schwab.
Oh,
But she's like a cutthroat pirate. She's a little bit older than the age of this particular character, but similar idea. She's raised on the streets. She's got, short hair. She's kind of boyish in the way she carries herself, but she wants to be that way, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And then you kind of see her come into her own later, but it's very similar. It's also read by the same narrator, so it's interesting.
Interesting.
And the main character's name is Kel in that book as well. So
okay. So where does the coming of age trope rank for you in your list of tropes?
I would rank it high because I like a good character arc. I like a character to start one way and then progressively get better as the story goes on, because I can relate to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so the tropes that I can relate to and then apply to my life in some way, I value more than other tropes.
Eventually, Vin takes a third bay wrap and flees from the room. It was more food than she could possibly eat. However, she intended to scrape out the barley and save the flatbread, which would keep well should she need to eat it later. This is such an interesting line because it shows you how old habits die hard.
Yep.
Vin is in a new situation here. She does not have to worry about getting food on her plate for every single meal. And yet here she is hoarding it as if she's never going to have food given to her again. And with that, it's meeting time. Vin is summoned to the main room by a young man. And let me tell you, his grasp of the English language is sublime. Quote, "You're wanted," he said in a thick Eastern accent. "Up's in the where, above with the doing. With master jumps to the third floor. I've got to go."
I laughed out loud during that part.
Yeah.
I remember reading that and I was like, did I read that wrong? Am I stupid? Oh, wait, he meant to say that.
I literally, when you read it for the first time, you're like, am I having a stroke? Because I'm not entirely sure.
It's like I'm reading the comments on a YouTube video or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what are they trying to say right now?
Yeah, or like if you get like those spam text messages or whatever.
Yeah.
But more on what the hell that was later. But as I said before, it's meeting time. We are now treated to a classic heist planning scene. It's just one of those tropes in every heist story that I just love. Everyone's standing around a chalkboard writing out the plan, and this is literally what the crew is doing right now. The Kelsier and the crew are writing down all the obstacles they're facing. The Luthadel garrison, the great houses, the Lord Ruler, and my personal favorite, after a snide comment from Yedin's bad attitude. But as fun as this little planning is, Vin can't shake how wrong it feels to even be talking about the idea of overthrowing the Lord Ruler in the first place. Quote, he was the Lord. He ruled all of the world. He was the creator, protector, and punisher of mankind. He had saved them from the deepness, then had brought the ash and the mist as a punishment for the people's lack of faith. Ven wasn't particularly religious. Intelligent thieves knew to avoid the steel ministry, but she knew the legends. But the planning continues. Kelsier wants the crew to start with thinking of how to throw the city into chaos. The idea of a full-scale Ska rebellion is thrown around, but the Lord Ruler's grasp over the Ska's hope and courage is too strong. They're too fearful for there to be any real rebellion. So, Kelsier proposes instead to turn all the great noble houses against each other. Noblemen fighting would cause a rash of assassinations and a disruption of the financial integrity of the city. I don't know about you, Stephen, but I love this plan so much more than an all-out attack. I feel like this is going to be so much more interesting seeing all the different noble houses get at each other's throats.
Yeah, if they had social media, it'd be even easier. Just post some random thing, just get them all fighting online.
The subtweeting would be absolutely classic in this instance.
Yeah. I could do it for them. They could hire me and I could just really rile some people up.
Oh, absolutely. There's a trickier problem next, though. The crew has to figure out how to deal with the garrison and the Lord Ruler's some 20,000 troops. And despite the crew promising to get Yedin an army, there's no way they could muster one that large. So the crew is stuck. But Kelsier looks to Vin for her perspective, and she is shooketh. No one has really ever asked her for her opinion before. But Kelsier is genuinely asking her, quote, tell me what you're thinking, Vin. You've got a much larger enemy threatening you. What do you do? I love this because Kelsier, from the minute that he met her, has seen the potential in her, and he's applying it directly to the situation that they're in. He doesn't see a little girl. He sees someone who has had to fight enemies that are bigger than her entire life, and he sees that as a real value to the crew.
Yeah. Sees the potential.
Exactly.
That's why he's a good character.
He's a good guy.
I mean, I think he's a good guy.
In some respects.
We'll see.
To which Vin answers, you don't fight them. You lure them away so you can get what you need without having to fight them directly. And Vin has an even better idea. What if they lured the garrison out to the pits of Hatson so that they're away from the city? The pits are an essential part of the Lord Ruler's grip over the society because it holds all of the adium deposits. So the plan is this. The crew will slowly build up a force of about 10,000 Ska, housing them within Yedin's caves that house the Ska rebellion. You'll remember that these very same caves were mentioned in the prologue when the Ska from Tresting's plantation needed a place to run away after his death. After the force is gathered, they will send about 1,000 soldiers to the pits and take control of them. After all, the pits will be much easier to take control of than the entire city of Luthadel. Then, the rest of the army will swoop in and overtake the garrison after the Lord Ruler is forced to send his own army to reclaim the pits.
Question.
Oh, yeah.
When you say the garrison, I had know somebody named Garrison, and I just picture him every time. What exactly is the garrison?
When I think of the garrison, I imagine it as like the central operations of the army. You know how when you see in movies, they're like coming up to a moat or whatever, and there's the big drawbridge door?
Yeah.
I imagine that, but inside of a city, not around an actual moat.
It's not a person, it's a thing.
It's a thing. Yeah, not a guy named Garrison who you play disc golf with on Saturdays.
Okay. This is very helpful because I just picture his goofy face with his Garrison. You're going to take he seems pretty easy to take over. This is going to take for like half a person. It's gonna be great.
Perhaps there's a guy named Garrison who works at the Pig and Shit, but I don't know.
Maybe he's like the main guy. I forgot about the Pig and Shit.
Yeah.
Can't wait to go there one day. Hey, if this takes off, we got to open it up. We got to open up the pig and
are
shit.
you kidding me? Yeah, exactly. So with all that in mind, Ham will be in charge of training this army, and Breeze, the emotional Allomancer, will be responsible for recruitment. But damn it, an army is no good without weapons. And how the hell are they going to get those? They can't just walk into the sword store and buy 10,000 swords without drawing some attention. Well, Kelsier knows a very special nobleman who is, let's just say, sympathetic to the cause and will divert weapons from his house to the Ska. His name is Lord Renow. But here's the thing. He's not actually Lord Renow. He's an actor, and a very good one at that. But more on that later. Conversations then turn to the War of the Noble Houses that the crew is trying to stir up. Remember how Kelsier wanted to be seen during his escapades last night at Keep Venture? Welp, turns out that because it was obvious that a Mistborn, which are only associated with noble houses, was involved, Straff Venture, the leader of the house, believes that Kelsier was sent by another noble house to assassinate him. So, tensions are already starting to bubble. So, Kelsier will continue to stir up trouble among the noble houses with more nighttime extracurricular activities. Now, another order of business. The crew needs to infiltrate the noble social functions that happen regularly so that they can pick up on valuable gossip as the job goes on in the background. So, they'll need someone to go undercover as an heir of Lord Renow. The team goes down the line, and for varying reasons, none of them will really work until they reach Vin, who gets the job by default. Okay, whew. We just have one last point of contention here. Even if the crew can raise an army, overrun the pits, lure the army and the Lord Ruler out of the city, there's still the little issue of the Steel Ministry, consisting of the Obligators and Steel Inquisitors. But, as usual, Kel has an idea, and he claims that his brother Marsh will take care of it. And just as Kelsier says that, Vin hears a new voice objecting. She hadn't even realized he'd come in the door, but Marsh is here, in the flesh, and he wants to speak to Kelsier alone. So, the chapter ends with Vin pretending to leave the room, only to scuttle back to listen at the door. So now, Steven, please hit us with the Chapter 7 epigraph.
Rashek is a tall man. Of course, most of these terracemen are tall. He is young to receive so much respect from the other packmen. He has charisma, and the women of the court would probably describe him as handsome, in a rugged sort of way. Yet it amazes me that anyone would give heed to a man who speaks such hatred. He has never seen Kalinium, yet he curses the city. He does not know me, yet I can already see the anger and hostility in his eyes. I like how I have no idea what these things mean, who they're directed to, and who's saying them.
I literally was going to ask you that exact question, but if I remember my experience reading Mistborn for the first time, I had no idea what was going on with these epigraphs, but I was so curious to find out what was going on.
So that's a question then. Is this quotes from later in the book, or is this contexts later in the book?
It is quotes from somewhere else. That's all I'm going to say. POV. Kelsier. Kelsier is now alone with his brother for the first time in 3 years. We learn that Marsh actually was the leader of the Ska Rebellion before Yedin, but has since dropped the position. Instantly, the brothers are at odds. Marsh gives Kelsier a list of the names of the people he murdered last night at Keep Venture. Kelsier's like, meh, they were noblemen and Ska who betrayed other Ska in BD. This is yet another moment where we are asked, is Kelsier really the good guy here? I mean, he's really living up to that morally gray moniker.
Smash. I don't know. I like the shadowiness. Also, I think he's a good guy with some bad guy. You know what I mean?
Who among us has not murdered a rich person in our time? The conversation moves to Marsh pointing a finger at Kelsier, accusing him of having an ulterior motive for the job. After all, Marsh is the one who's been putting in work for the rebellion for years, while Kelsier and his crew have been petty criminals until now. And Marsh has a point. Sure, as readers, we know that Kelsier wants to accomplish the job, at least we think he does, but his motives seem a little bit hazy. To this point, the only real motivating factor we know of for Kelsier is the death of his wife, which is noble, sure, but it's not founded in the idea of liberation for the Ska. So, things are testy, to say the least. But sticking to the matter at hand, Kelsier asks Marsh if he can help infiltrate the Steel Ministry. And although Marsh is skeptical, he does admit that Kelsier seems more genuine than usual about this job. He promises to come back and listen to Kelsier's plan and, quote, then, well, we'll see. That is the classic answer for whenever you ask your parent if you can do something fun. We'll see.
We'll see, and then they forget.
Yeah, conveniently.
And then when I say that, I mean me, because my two kids say that all the time.
I was just about to ask if you started to put that trick into your golf club, so to speak, as a parent.
I say maybe, and then I just forget.
Oh, maybe. Another classic.
If they don't remind me, then they forgot. So.
Yeah. And as Marsh leaves, Kelsier notices a quick shadow of movement underneath the door and burns iron to see a blue translucent line pointing through it. He now knows that Vin has been listening this whole time.
I know you don't have kids, but when you have kids, you'll see fingers under the door when you're in the bathroom. And that just reminded me of that. I don't know why. My daughter does that. She'll slip me notes in the door. I'm like, I am trying to have a moment here. That's why I lock the door. And you see fingers and notes.
She has yet to figure out the whole stealth thing yet.
I don't think she's trying to be stealthy. She's just trying to bother me.
POV, Vin. Kelsier knocks on the door, and Vin makes her best effort to look like she's just woken up. This is like a classic when you were playing your Game Boy underneath your covers at night, and then your parents come in, and you turn over and pretend like you're asleep.
You had a Game Boy?
Oh, yeah. I had a Game Boy. I think the first one I had was a Game Boy Color.
That's what I had. I bought that with my nickels that I rolled and saved from birthdays. So I went in there with rolls of coins. It came with a worm light because there was no LCD screens back then. You had to have the worm light.
The most disrespectful thing I've ever said to my dad is probably one time I was playing on my Game Boy Advance and I looked over at him and I said, Dad, when you had a Game Boy when you were a kid, was it made out of wood? But anyway, Vin is basically a kid coming home after curfew, and Kelsier ain't buying it. But Kel isn't angry. He instead asks Vin what she thinks of Marsh. However, Vin is on guard still with Kelsier, and despite his kindness, Reen's voice has become stronger in her head since meeting him. But enough about the worst brother of all time. Kelsier tells Vin that it is time for them to start her training. Holy shit! LFG, it is time for Allomancy. A quick note before we get into all of that, though. Kelsier quickly leaves for the moment to go chat with the crew in the kitchen. And as Vin watches, she notices the genuine quiet laughter going on in the room among the crew. And deep down, she is curious about what that kind of friendship feels like, to actually just be with people. But she can't bring herself to follow, to be a part of the group. Vin wasn't certain what kept her out of the room. It was as if the light and the humor were a barrier. With Vin exiled to the quiet Psalm workroom, she watched from the darkness and wasn't completely able to suppress her longing. Kelsier returns with a Mistborn cloak, and Vin is shocked. She's assumed that she'd have to earn the honor of having one, but Kelsier dispels this idea. Quote, "What's there to earn?" Kelsier said, pulling out his own cloak. "This is who you are, Vin." No matter how many people Kelsier murders, the way that he treats Vin, in my mind, makes up for all of it. I love him so far.
I mean, I don't think he has any ulterior motives concerning her. Unless, I guess he wants her to help him in some way, sure. But I feel like he's genuinely concerned with her.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't get any weird vibes. I do get a weird vibe from somebody else, but we'll get to that later.
Okay, I guess we'll have to find out. Vin doesn't feel like she belongs, at least not yet. But Kelsier is slowly but surely trying to build her up to be what he knows she can. Okay, folks, it is time for Allomancy 101. Kelsier and Vin are now on the roof among the mists. Kelsier tells Vin to start burning her metals one at a time, and she can feel 8 distinct ones flaring in her stomach. The first she chooses ends up being pewter, which makes her feel less tired and her muscles feel more agile. Kelsier says, quote, "That's pewter. It enhances your physical abilities, making you stronger, more able to resist fatigue and pain. You'll react more quickly when you're burning it, and your body will be tougher." So this is not just a straight up power amplifier. This gives you better agility, better endurance. It makes you less tired.
It makes you a Taylor's version of yourself is what it does.
That's a great way to put it, Stephen.
Pewter is Taylor's version. Just so y'all listening, write that down in your notes.
We then get a quick tidbit from Kelsier that you can use varying levels of metal at one time, and upping your usage is called flaring. Flaring will make your power stronger and more potent, but they will also run out more quickly.
Okay, so flaring versus burning is the main thing here, right?
Exactly, and I think this goes a really long way in actually balancing the power of this magic system, because if somebody could just burn metal indefinitely and get all the benefits, it's less interesting because there's not limitations to the power. Now, before Vin moves on to another metal, Kelsier tells us a bit about how many of the metals allomancers use are alloys of other metals. Alloys like pewter are tricky, since the metal percentages have to be mixed exactly right if you want maximum power. In fact, if they aren't careful when buying metals, they could end up with the wrong alloy entirely. Pewter, for instance, is generally accepted as an alloy of tin mixed with lead, with perhaps some copper or silver depending on the use and the circumstances. Allomancer's pewter is an alloy of 91% tin and 9% lead. If they want maximum strength from their metal, they have to use those percentages. If they burn the wrong percentages and it's only off by a little bit, they'll still get some power out of it, but if it's too far off, it will make them sick.
That's where my brain just kind of shuts off. Like,
oh, for sure. I mean,
percentages.
For a while, you're like,
somebody else mix this for me?
Yeah. Do I need like a chemistry degree in order to understand this? I totally get it. The training moves to another principle of Allomancy. There are 2 metals for every power. One pushes and one pulls. The second is usually an alloy of the first. For emotions, or the external mental powers, you pull with zinc and push with brass. Now, pewter is the internal or pushing physical metal. So now Vin activates the external or pulling physical metal tin.
This has got to be like one of the most intricate and well-designed and original magic systems I've ever heard of. I really like the magic system.
Oh, I love it. And the thing about it is you can go as deep as you want, but eventually you're going to just come to know, oh, tin does this, pewter does that.
Yeah.
And that's all you really need to know at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We've seen tin activated before. Every one of Vin's senses is enhanced. Quote, the world suddenly became brighter around her. Or, well, that wasn't quite right. She could see better and she could see farther, but the mists were still there. They were simply more translucent. The ambient light around her seemed brighter somehow. There were other changes. She could feel her clothing. She realized that she had always been able to feel it, but she usually ignored it. Now it felt closer. She could sense the textures and was acutely aware of the places where the cloth was tied on her. She was hungry. That too she had been ignoring. Yet now her hunger seemed far more pressing. Her skin felt wetter, and she could smell the crisp air mixed with scents of dirt, soot, and refuse. Interestingly, tin burns more slowly than other metals, so Mistborn often keep it activated the entire time they're in the mist. It's a very useful metal after all. We then move to bronze, the pushing internal mental metal. As she activates it, Vin notices little pulses emanating from Kelsier. This is how bronze works. It allows you to sense when someone is using Allomancy nearby, and seekers like Marsh use it. The applications of this metal are a little bit more limited, but the Steel Inquisitors use it to hunt for Ska Allomancers. And all of a sudden, the pulses stop because Kelsier activated copper, which masks your allomantic pulse. This is a hugely useful metal. It allows Allomancers and Mistborn to operate without being discovered. Additionally, it makes you immune to other Allomancers manipulating your emotions. So this is like one of the most useful metals to possibly be able to use. Copper, yes.
It basically is protecting you?
Exactly. Kelsier tells Vin that she'll want to have her copper running essentially nonstop. This is why someone like Clubs, a smoker, is so important to the crew. He is able to hide not only himself from Allomancers and Inquisitors, but the rest of the crew as well. Now, there are just 2 metals left. But before Vin can burn them, Kelsier tells her a philosophy of Allomancy to live by. The powers it gives you are great, yes, but each has consequences. Take 10, for example. Yes, it gives you enhanced senses to more easily see your enemies, but let's say there's a loud bang. That could easily hurt your ears and distract you from what's going on in front of you. In a dangerous situation, that could be the difference between life and death.
So each one has a side effect.
Exactly.
Like
call your doctor before
medicine.
you use, yeah.
Yeah. If this was a commercial, it'd be side effects may include diarrhea.
Death.
Just those 2. Just the 2 Ds. Diarrhea and death.
Now, it is time to use the last 2 metals, steel and iron. Kelsier tells Vin, quote, iron and steel give you the ability to manipulate other metals around you, Kelsier explained. With iron, you can pull a metal source toward yourself. With steel, you can push one away. So, Kelsier pulls a coin out of his pocket and tells Vin to burn steel and push on it. She does, and it flies out of Kelsier's hand. But as soon as the coin hits the wall of a house, Vin is pushed back, and Kelsier reminds us of the idea of consequences. Quote, you use your own weight when you steel push. If you're a lot heavier than your anchor, it will fly away from you like that coin did. However, if the object is heavier than you are, or if it runs into something that is, you'll be pushed away. Iron pulling is similar. Either you'll be pulled toward the object or it will be pulled toward you.
So it's a game of weight.
Exactly. If your weights are similar, then you'll both move. This crystallizes for us readers that Allomancy is not some all-powerful magic. It still lives within the confines of the physical world.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, that makes it more difficult as the Allomancer.
Absolutely.
You want to just wave a wand and anything is possible, but it's kind of not.
And it brings a level of problem solving to combat in this world, which makes it more vivid.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, everybody. Class is over. So now, it's time for some real practice. Kelsier tells Vin that she's about to jump over the wall. And Vin is like, what the fuck? But with his patented Kelsier smile, he puts a metal ingot at his feet and launches into the air over to the top of the wall. So Vin gathers herself, takes a deep breath, and pushes against the ingot with all of her strength.
So this one was a rather dense chapter with a lot of information. Are you able? How's your memory? Hey.
I think it's pretty good.
Do you have a great memory? Can you compact all 8 of these metals we just learned about into like one line, which each of them does?
Okay, so first you have pewter, which is going to enhance your physical capabilities, your strength, your endurance, all that good kind of stuff. Then you have tin, which is going to enhance your senses. Next up, you have zinc, which is going to soothe other people's emotions, followed by brass, which riots or enhances people's emotions. Next up, you have copper, which hides your allomancy from other people. And then you have bronze, which allows you to reveal other people's allomancy. And lastly, we have iron, which allows you to pull on nearby metals, or steel, which pushes on nearby metals.
That's why you get the big bucks, buddy. Just get the memory like a fox, or whatever they say. Whatever the kids are saying nowadays.
I appreciate that. So, Steven, can you give us the epigraph for chapter 8?
He shall defend their ways, yet shall violate them. He will be their savior, yet they shall call him heretic. His name shall be discord, yet they shall love him for it.
We are back in Vin's POV. With Kelsier's help, Vin reaches the top of the wall. But now, there's the matter of getting down. Kelsier charges her with using Allomancy to land safely on the ground. But she misjudges her trajectory and is slightly offline with the ingot. So she thinks she's about to die, but Kelsier uses Allomancy to grab her by the metal in her belt and brings her slowly down to safety. But hey, chin up, Vin. It was your first time. Conversation moves to a quirk of Allomancy. According to Kelsier, quote, metal in your body, even if only a bit of it is in your body, can't be pushed or pulled. Otherwise, another Allomancer could rip the metals out of your stomach while you were burning them.
Which leads me to this question.
Okay.
You know how some people smuggle cocaine through airports?
Sure. Don't have any personal experience with it.
I don't either, but I've seen movies. You've
Okay.
seen movies. You know, they put it in their butt. Can you put metal in your butt to smuggle it without it getting retracted?
Okay. So I'm going to extrapolate here because I think the answer is no. Because later in this chapter, and I believe it's coming right up, they talk about the earring that Vin wears from her mother. And because it is, quote, inside her body, it's pierced through her ear, it's not able to be affected by Allomancy.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you want to hide metals from people and they can't...
Shove it up your butt.
Just shove it up your butt.
Yeah, I suppose. I don't know what the utility in live action would be.
I mean, it's easy. I don't know. That was just my first thought, which shows you how weird my mind is, apparently.
So enough about shoving things up our butts. The pair then start walking around outside the city walls, and Vin can't help but feel unnerved that something is following them. To which Kelsier replies, yeah, you're right, but it's just a Mistwraith. Just a Mistwraith? Mistwraiths are of Ska legend, and most are terrified of them. But Kelsier tells Vin to follow him so they can go get a good look at it. And eventually they see it. Quote, the creature had smoky, translucent skin, and Vin could see its bones. It had dozens upon dozens of limbs, and each one looked as if it had come from a different animal. There were human hands, bovine hooves, canine haunches, and others she couldn't identify. The mismatched limbs let the creature walk, though it was more of a shamble. It crawled along slowly, moving like an awkward centipede. Many of the limbs, in fact, didn't look functional. They jutted from the creature's flesh in a twisted, unnatural fashion.
I read this part several times because I did not know what they were trying to say to me or what picture they were trying to paint.
What the hell is going on?
Times, and then I Googled what the hell a Mistwraith is, and I looked at a picture, and I was like, okay, exactly how they described it. So I was the problem. It's freaky looking.
It is a organic Mad Libs. Anyways, back to the Mistwraiths. Ew, that's so gross. I put in parentheses in my outline, Valley Girl accent.
Well, you nailed it. I thought there was a Valley Girl in the room with us. I thought you just turned into one. Go on.
But don't worry. These things may be gross, but they're just scavengers. They take the corpses that they absorb and can recreate their muscle and skin patterns.
So these things have no purpose other than they're basically like the rats of this little world here.
It's kind of our understanding of them to this point.
Oh, so they have more
emphasis on this to this point.
Vin
and Kelsier continue their journey until they come up to the Imperial High Road, where they find a carriage. And Kelsier calls out, "Ho, Sazed!" That's right. We finally get to meet my favorite character in this whole fucking series. Sazed is my boy. Quote, Sazed had a long, flat face and a willowy body. He was even taller than Kelsier, tall enough to be a bit abnormal, and his arms were unusually long.
So like Slender Man.
Yeah, or Kevin Durant. As Vin points out, Sazed is a Terrorsman. More on them later, but this added context gives us a little more insight into Sazed's physical appearance. Quote, his earlobes had been stretched out, and the ears contained studs that ran around their perimeter. He wore the lavish, colorful robes of a terrace steward. The garments were made of embroidered, overlapping V-shapes, alternating along the three colors of his master's house. But enough descriptions about my dog, Sazed. It's time for the three to get into the carriage to go to their destination, to go meet Lord Renow.
Well, do you have a reason that he's your favorite? Or do we get that at some point?
You will learn the joys of being acquainted with Sazed in due time, my friend. We are back in Kelsier's POV, and the carriage ride is an interesting one. Vin starts to ask Kel about he and Marsh's relationship. She asks if Marsh beat Kelsier much when they were growing up, to which Kelsier is like, what the fuck? No, of course not. Vin comes back with, quote, maybe that's why he doesn't like you. How did you escape? Did you run or were you stronger than him?
I was going to say, yeah, if you come from a house where you just fight all the time, it's weird to go to someone else's house where the kids don't fight each other. Oh, are you all okay? Is something wrong?
No? Exactly. This is all that Vin knows. She can't even imagine that there could be an older brother out there who doesn't try to beat their younger sibling.
Yeah.
Vin still doesn't trust anyone, let alone Kelsier. But Kelsier gives her the chance to leave, telling Sazed to turn the carriage around and giving Vin the boxings he had taken from Cayman. If she wants to go, she can. But Vin decides to stay, quote, but not because I trust you, because I want to see what happens.
I love that line.
Not very good at lying.
No, I like that line because that's kind of how I live my life. I don't trust anybody, but I want to see what happens here.
She's like, it's not because I trust you or because you give me food or you let me sleep in a bed or
I'm all about the journey,
or are nice to me. I just want to know what happens. We are back in Vin's POV. They have now arrived at Mansion Renow, and it is spotless. Now, in comes Renow. Remember, he's an imposter. The real Renow is dead, but this actor is very impressive, putting Cayman's impersonation of a nobleman to shame.
There's a point in this book where, I think it's the previous episode that we did, where they're talking to, what's the guy's name, starts with a Y, Yedin?
Yedin, yeah.
Yedin. So they're saying, hey, we have an imposter, and he's like, okay, how does he look like him? And they won't describe it to him because it would be too graphic. And it reminds me of Game of Thrones, the man with many faces.
Oh, yeah.
I'm talking about. I'm assuming they alluded to like he's wearing his face somehow or is some sort of magical ability. I don't know. Just the way they described it, it seemed gruesome to the point where they wouldn't tell Yedin about it.
I guess we'll just have to find out, huh?
Oh, here we go again with your vague things. I love it, but I hate it at the same time.
Renow and Kelsier go into another room to chat, leaving Vin and Sazed alone. While she observes the goings-on of the mansion, she notices that the servants are happy? That is very atypical of Ska servants. Vin begins to engage Sazed in conversation, asking him how he came to be a part of the rebellion, and Sazed doesn't really give her a straight answer. Instead, he asks her what she believes in. Does she believe that the Lord Ruler is truly God? If she finds she does not, then he's happy to help her find a belief. He gives a wonderful quote here. Quote, the right belief is like a good cloak, I think. If it fits you well, it keeps you warm and safe. The wrong fit, however, can suffocate.
I like how Sazed is just like the guy. Do you know the Lord? Do you know the Lord?
Have you heard about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ?
He's just trying to get you to know the Lord or a Lord, somebody.
Yes.
You need a belief. You can't just be walking around without one. That's crazy talk.
Yeah, Sazed spends his summers walking around neighborhoods with the short sleeve white shirts and the black ties.
Knocking on doors. Not, do you know the Lord? It's just, do you know a Lord? Just pick one. You need something.
We got hundreds of them.
I reach in my bag here. I'll give you something.
But man, only a few moments of page time and Sazed is already dropping bangers. A short time later, Renau and Kelsier return, and the decision is made. Vin will attend noble functions not as Renau's heir, but rather as a scion, representing his house. If Vin were to go as an heir, all the boys would be clamoring over her, trying to get her hand in marriage. My inheritance brings all the boys in the yard.
That's great. Yeah, this time period, you forget sometimes that this was all about marriage was a convenience thing and a transactional thing.
Yeah, much like the original Shadow Daddy, Pride and Prejudice, Mr. Darcy.
What's his name?
Mr. Darcy.
Darcy, but they fell in love.
They did fall in love.
Yeah, that was like the first marriage of convenience trope that worked out, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So this way, since she's not going to be the actual heir, she can fly a bit more under the radar. But Vin needs some refinement, how to act and carry yourself at these balls. She needs a real Princess and see, this is the moment where you stole my Princess Diary.
Great minds think alike, buddy. I like how you actually knew her name, though, the Princess Diary name.
Oh, yeah. She needs a real Princess Diaries makeover situation. So, Sazed will be the one tasked with training her in that regard.
That was one of my favorite movies as a kid.
Quick tidbit about that movie. You know who's a real asshole in that movie?
Okay, go on.
Her best friend. There's a scene when towards the very beginning where they're like walking to school and Mia's like, she's upset or whatever. And she's like, what's wrong? And she's like, well, my dad passed away. And she's like, I thought you were over that. It was 6 months ago.
No.
She literally said that. She literally said that.
That's a terrible friend. That's a shitty friend.
Yeah. But anyways, on their way to the guest chambers, Kelsier apologizes for excluding her from their conversation with Renau. But he promises it was just a personal matter for Renau, and it wasn't information critical to the mission. After Kel leaves, Vin asks Sazed if he thinks Kelsier is a good man, to which Sazed says, quote, a very good man, mistress, one of the best I've known, which Vin follows up with, quote, I don't think I've ever known one of those before. That is just like, the number of bangers per capita in this book so far.
Oh, that's a banger. That's more of like another just insight into Vin's terrible life. I remember this was an episode that y'all did with Fantasy Fangirls, Nicole and Lexi.
Yeah.
And they talked about how they really liked the depth of the character of Vin. And they said it's hard sometimes for males to write female parts, but this particular book does a great job of kind of diving into the intricacies of a character.
And that is the end of part 1. Steven, will you give us the epigraph for chapter 9?
This is the shortest epigraph we've had thus far. Here we go. It's just one sentence. In the end, I worry that my arrogance shall destroy us all.
We are in Vin's POV. We fast forward a few months and Vin has taken huge steps in her training as an Allomancer. And not only is she more proficient in her abilities, but it has unlocked something in her. Allomancy feels like freedom to her. We are treated to a badass scene of her training with Kelsier where they're doing some practice combat and Vin is whipping out all of the stops, burning one metal after another to try to incapacitate her mentor. So Allomancy comes easy to Vin. But learning how to act like a noblewoman is proving to be a little more complicated. Sazed has been working with Vin on this part of the plan for months. And today, it's makeover time! Vin is getting her hairstyle to be more feminine, which will help her blend in with the noble folk. While Vin is sitting in the chair getting her hair did, Sazed starts pitching her a religion that he thinks might suit her.
Here we go again with the religion.
He won't stop.
Do you know the Lord yet? We've had several months.
Sazed just won't quit.
He's persistent. He's really trying to spread the gospel of pick one.
This religion is called Trelegism. Remember, Vin told Sazed she doesn't really know what she believes, and so he has made it his personal mission to find a religion for her among the 562 ones that existed before the Lord Ruler's ascension.
Does he do this through the whole book? Because that would be hilarious.
Oh, he never stops.
There's got to be something we can do with the play off of that.
Relentless.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, Trelegism is number 5 that he's pitched, and Vin says that she'll pass. You see, Sazed is a keeper, and different keepers specialize in different areas of study. Sazed's is religion, and his reason behind this chosen specialty is rather noble. Quote,
I feel like we're building a Quidditch team right now, because we already have a seeker, and now we have a keeper.
A smoker, like low-key sounds like it could be in Quidditch.
No, that's just the guy who's like, oh, we're losing, so he's just puffing in the corner.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a real role other than
we're fucking losing, people. We gotta pick it up.
He's also an old lady, apparently.
Quote, "The final empire cannot last forever," Sazed said quietly. "I do not know if Master Kelsier will be the one who finally brings its end, but that end will come. And when it does, when the Steel Ministry no longer holds sway, men will wish to return to the beliefs of their fathers. On that day, they will look to the Keepers, and on that day we shall return to mankind his forgotten truths." Dude, but enough about religion. The haircut is done, and Vin kind of likes it. Up until now, Vin didn't want to express really any sense of femininity because it put a target on her back. But now she's starting to wonder what it would be like to lean into this just a little bit. Quote, "You don't want them to think of you as a girl," Reen's voice warned. Yet, for once, she found herself wanting to ignore that voice.
Hey, once you come into beauty mode, you don't ever want to go back. You know what I'm talking about? Ever see yourself in beauty mode on TikTok? You're like, ooh, I look great. And then you realize it's on. You flip it off. You're like, oh, God, put that baby back on.
Absolutely. Vin is kind of starting to think, you know what? Maybe I do want to start spending my Friday nights painting my nails in my room while listening to Girls Just Want to Have Fun. We are back in Kelsier's POV. Kelsier is chatting with Sazed about Vin and her training, and he wishes that he could train her more. And Sazed gives him a good idea. Have Vin train with the different Allomancer members of the crew so she can get a bit more pointed training in each medal, which I think is a pretty good idea. We also get some insight from Kelsier as to how special of an Allomancer Vin might be. Quote, "Today when we were training, we got into a steel push shoving match. The kid has to weigh less than half what I do, but she gave me a decent pummeling anyway. Different people have different strengths in Allomancy," Sazed said. "Yes, but the variance isn't usually this great," Kelsier said. "Plus, it took me months and months to learn how to manipulate my pushes and pulls. It's not as easy as it sounds. Even something as simple as pushing yourself up onto a rooftop requires an understanding of weight, balance, and trajectory. But Vin, she seems to know all these things instinctively. True, she can only use the first 4 medals with any skill, but the progress she's made is amazing."
This type of magic system wouldn't be the one I would pick for myself if I got to pick any sort of magic system. It's too much learning.
I agree.
Give me a wand and some can-do attitude.
I do, yeah, and there is a lot. There's just so much nuance.
Yeah,
you can't
it's
just
almost like the real world to a certain extent.
Yeah, exactly. There's some guilt with Kelsier about involving Vin in all of this. There's a high likelihood that she'll end up dying just like the rest of the crew with this job, but they still have to try. It's time for Vin to attend her first ball, and Sazed will be right by her side. Quote, "I will protect her with my life, Master Kelsier. I promise you this." This is why I love Sazed.
Unless he has ulterior motives, but you already have spilled the beans on that because you still like him after
learning
reading
from
it.
you in this show, Stephen, that you have some trust issues, my friend.
Yeah, this is not therapy 101 with me and you. This is let's read a book and have fun.
And we get a little hint that there may be more to Sazed than meets the eye. Quote, "Kelsier smiled, resting a thankful hand on Sazed's shoulder. I feel pity for the man who gets in your way." Sazed bowed his head humbly. He looked innocuous, but Kelsier knew the strength that Sazed hid. Few men, Allomancers or not, would fare well in a fight with a keeper whose anger had been roused. That was probably why the ministry had hunted the sect virtually to extinction. All right, Stephen, it is time for the final epigraph of the episode, Chapter 10.
It amazes me how many nations have united behind our purpose. There are still dissenters, of course, and some kingdoms, regrettably, have fallen to wars that I could not stop. Still, this general unity is glorious, even humbling, to contemplate. I wish the nations of mankind hadn't required such a dire threat to make them see the value of peace and cooperation. Who said that? That's my question. I just want to yell that every time I read these freaking things. Who said that? Why did you say it? When is it coming? Don't throw that in there randomly before the chapter because it has nothing to do with it. Or does it? It's all going to come together like a puzzle.
Vin arrives at a soup kitchen in the Ska slums, and she's not here for soup. She's here to continue her training in emotional allomancy with Breeze. Breeze tells Vin that emotional allomancy isn't just about pulling on emotions. It's about manipulating people and understanding someone's initial emotional state. So, if somebody is skeptical and you try to turn them into Chuckles McGee, you're not going to have much success. They're going to realize they're being manipulated. Anyways, after a short time, Ham joins them, and what comes next is a hilarious exchange. Ham, ever the philosopher, poses a question, quote, "By overthrowing the final empire, are we doing something good or are we doing something bad?" And Breeze is not interested. He is not a fan of Ham's philosophical musings and tells Vin not to encourage him.
Honestly, this kind of took Breeze down a peg, just a peg for me, because I would have invited that philosophical question or that conversation because I like diving into things like that.
Well, see, to me, I just love the Ham and Breeze dynamic together. I'm not super interested in them as individual characters, but seeing their banter back and forth and how annoyed that Breeze gets with him is so funny to me.
That is funny too. You don't like Breeze as a character by
No,
himself?
I like him, but it's not
You
like...
just said you didn't like him by themselves.
Well, no, I'm saying I don't love them. Like I'm not as interested in them as someone like Kelsier.
You're not sold on him. You're all about that Cesar. What's his name?
Sazed.
Sazed. Say less.
Ham's argument is, hey, isn't the Lord Ruler God? To which Breeze responds, no, he's known as just a piece of God because he is, quote, the sliver of infinity. But Ham asserts that if God decides what is right or wrong, who are they to overthrow him? And this conversation is capped off with Ham saying, quote, do you see the problem? And Breeze saying, I see an idiot.
This is why he's great.
But the debate is over because Kelsier has arrived. Breeze and Ven watch from a peephole in their room as Kel begins a meeting with a group of Ska that he's trying to enlist in the rebellion army. And what happens next is super cool. Breeze has soothers and rioters mixed amongst the crowd, and Breeze is communicating with them by way of sending out servers wearing different colors, indicating which emotion they are supposed to latch onto and manipulate. The soothers will calm certain emotions that are unhelpful to the cause, while the rioters will inflame the ones that they want to be more pronounced. What comes next is a bit like a conductor controlling a symphony. As Kelsier goes through his speech, Breeze prompts his Allomancers to gently push and pull on various emotions, and the grand finale culminates with Kelsier revealing the scars on his arms. Quote, the Lord Ruler is not our God, he said softly, and he cannot kill me. He tried, but he failed, for I am the thing that he can never kill. The mission is a success. The Ska leave in awe, passionate about what they just heard. The emotions may fade, but at least with this, the memories they have of this moment will remain imprinted on their minds.
So he's swaying all these Ska to try to get him on their side because they have to defeat this 20,000 army that the old Lord Ruler has, right?
Exactly. We're back in Kelsier's POV. Kelsier is on the roof of Clubs' shop looking at Krennic Shaw, the Lord Ruler's palace, and he's joined by my boy Sazed. The two of them begin discussing why the Lord Ruler has subjugated the Terrace people, and Sazed believes it's because he is afraid of the Keepers. Quote, he fears the Keepers, Sazed said, definitely and inexplicably. Perhaps it is because of our powers. We are not Allomancers, but something else. Something unknown to him. That seems like it could be important down the line, folks.
I feel like this is you telling us it is important.
Let's keep an eye on that one. The conversation moves to another religion pitch from Sazed.
Here he goes again.
Looking back at this, I'm realizing how much you will just not shut the fuck up about these religions.
It's like that one relative. Every time you go to see him, like, hey, I got some books you got to read. I don't want to read them, buddy.
Yeah. Sazed is like
That's hilarious.
The complete polar opposite of your drunk uncle at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite fit what Kel is looking for, though. He says he doesn't know what he believes right now. Quote, but overthrowing the final empire seems like a good start. Are there any religions on your list that include the slaughter of noblemen as a holy duty? Sazed frowned disapprovingly. Quote, I do not believe so, Master Kelsier. To which Kelsier says, maybe I should found one. We're back in Vin's POV. All right. We are moving to another crew meeting. Before things settle in, Vin is chatting, or at least trying to chat with Lestaborns, Club's nephew who speaks in the unintelligible Eastern slang that we met earlier. As the meeting starts, it's a bit of a downer. Turns out recruitment for the army isn't quite going as well as they had hoped. They've only been able to recruit 2,000 men in the past 12 weeks. And there's the issue of infiltrating the ministry, which is proving very difficult. But Vin has an idea. Remember the con that Cayman planned on pulling? Well, now they're going to try to slip Marsh in among the other ministry acolytes like they were trying to do earlier in the book. We then get a quick mention that rumor of this 11th medal that Kelsier has is starting to spread on the streets. Essentially, the crew isn't exactly laying low, and there's some concern that the Lord Ruler would catch wind of this and crush them. But everything is interrupted as a guard comes in and delivers a message that the ministry has found Cayman's lair, the one where they first met at. And that is where we'll leave off today's episode. Okay, Steven, it is time for our winners and losers of the week. I'm going to let you go first. Steven, give me your winner.
Okay, the winner I think is Kelsier. I didn't want to say that because that's obvious, but I just like the way he's responding and treating Vin Damsel. He doesn't seem to have any weird motives or anything like that concerning her. I think he is using her to a certain extent, but I still feel like he cares about her. So I'm going to give him the win because he's like the perfect example of being a non-toxic man.
Yeah.
So I'll give him the win. The loser is probably just me. It's pork meat. Mr. Ham. I don't trust Mr. Ham.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe it's just the way he was saying something. Okay, there's a scene where he's with Vin Damsel, right?
Yeah.
And she's coming out of her room and she's trying to hide from him. And I think it's in one of the earlier chapters that we talked about today. Maybe chapter 6. But he says, there's no need to hide from us. We're all family or something like that. But just the way, maybe I am Vin. I feel like I'm Vin in this story. I don't trust anybody right now.
Interesting.
Because I've been hurt before. But I don't trust Ham. I feel like, well, this is a prediction for later, but I'll just say for now, I feel like he's the loser, at least in my mind, because I don't trust him. And I don't know if that's me being me or if there's something there that the author wants me to pick up.
That is quite the harsh assessment of Ham for us knowing very little about him to this point.
Well, something smells porky about him.
Fair enough. So my winner of the week, this winner and loser situation I'm doing for the week is the most biased I will ever be when handing out these awards. My winner is Sazed.
Of course. Everyone knew that. The minute you start talking about it, like, oh, the winner is going to be Sazed.
No real reason. He's just my baby boy, and I love him so much. Loser goes to Cayman. Here we were. We thought we were done with him. And now we get one last reminder of him with the lair getting discovered. So essentially, I have made a resolution that anytime Cayman is mentioned in a stretch of chapters, he will automatically be getting the loser of that episode by default. Okay, Steven, it is time for my favorite part of the episode. It is time for you to look into your foggy crystal ball and let us know what you think is going to happen next.
It is clear as mud right now, buddy. Okay, like I said, Ham, I feel like Ham, Mr. Pork, there's something, I feel like he's working for the High King Lord Face Man, or there's something bad going on. He's doing something. Again, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm also trying to impose that on a character because I feel like that's coming at some point in time.
Okay.
Somebody's betraying somebody. I'm saying it's Mr. Pork. Also, Kelsier, I feel like his relationship with the Lord Ruler is better than he's perceiving it to be. In that he knows more about him, or the Lord Ruler knows more about him. Because at some point he says, I'm going to go meet with him in one of these previous chapters. And that, I don't know, that led me to believe that maybe there's something else going on there. They're not as at odds as we would like to think.
Okay.
Also, I think they're going to go search for the 11th medal because so far they don't know where it is, right?
No, he has it.
He has it.
Yeah.
But he's just like a sample. He wants more of it.
In theory, that's all he should need.
Oh, so the little thing he presented at the first
is supposed to be the 11th medal.
Well, then I definitely think he's lying now.
Okay.
That's just a piece of petrified wood he found in the backyard.
Okay.
Look at this cool wood, this metal. I mean, I don't think that's a real thing. And if it is a real thing, he doesn't have it.
Okay. This is interesting. You did far more poorly than you did in the first episode. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say you're 5% correct.
Oh, good Lord. Is that because I have one word right?
You have the spirit of something in there.
The spirit of a winner, but the mentality and reality of a loser.
I liked your mentality on this.
Am I doing what should be done in that I'm questioning certain things in general?
No, you're absolutely doing the right thing. You're just not doing it the right way.
I feel like I'm discovering more about myself that I am like Vin. What I need is a makeover is what it sounds like. After this, I'm going to paint my nails and get my hair did, and perhaps I'll be more trusting of people.
If only we could all be Mia Thermopolis. Okay, everybody, that is it for episode 2 of our deep dive of Mistborn.
Hey, and if you like this, go ahead and check out our interview with Pierce Brown, the Pierce Brown, right now on our feed. And episode 3 will be coming out Wednesday, November 12th. Also, please be sure to give us a 5-star rating and review on your podcast platform, and give us a follow on Instagram and TikTok at Fantasy Fanfellas.
And lastly, if you loved this episode and you have any friends who you have been begging to take the Sanderson plunge, go ahead and share this episode with them. It may be just the steel push they need. Okay, nice. See you next episode for chapters 11 through 15. Bye!
Bye. Sorry, hold on.
Okay.
I already fucked it up.
That's okay. All right.
That's right, Professor. So this fuck. Fix it. Okay.
We'll do it live.
We'll do it live.
God damn it. Okay.
Oh, man. Okay.